What is the mind? Is it just a function of the brain? Is it something we have, or something we are? Every day we experience thoughts, emotions, dreams, fears, but rarely do we pause to ask, where do these arise from? Western science tells us your thoughts are just neurons firing in a soft grey organ inside your skull, but the rishis of Aryavarta, thousands of years ago, offered a different answer. They said the mind is not just a machine. It's not merely a chemical process. It is a bridge between the body and the soul, a mirror that reflects your inner self, a river that flows with memories, desires, and impressions from even your past lives. This isn't poetic philosophy. It's a science of consciousness, and that science is called Manovigyan, Vedic psychology. Today, we dive deep into this sacred tradition. We explore not just how the mind works, but how it binds us and how it can liberate us. Because, as the ancient Upanishad says, Man ev manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayo, the mind alone is the cause of bondage and the cause of liberation. This is not just a lecture. This is a journey inward to meet the most powerful force you carry within, your own mind. What is Manovigyan? Let's begin with a simple question. What does Manovigyan actually mean? In Sanskrit, the word is composed of two roots. Manas, the mind; Vigyan, detailed experiential knowledge. So literally, Manovigyan means the precise knowledge of the mind. But it's far more than just a translation of the word psychology. Modern psychology studies behavior, emotion, cognition. It treats the mind like a subject in a laboratory. It gathers data, performs experiments, creates theories. And while it has discovered much, it often stops at what is observable. But the Vedic seers, they turned inward. They didn't just observe the mind, they experienced it through disciplined practice, dhyan, meditation, and samadhi, union. They directly perceived the mind's inner structure, its tendencies, its illusions, and its potential. They taught us something extraordinary. The mind is not an obstacle. It is a tool. It can trap you in illusion or lift you into truth. That's why the Amritabindu Upanishad declares, Man ev manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayo. The mind alone is responsible for bondage and for liberation. Just pause and reflect on that. Not your environment, not your circumstances, not other people. Your own mind is your jailer or your liberator. If your mind is filled with ignorance, fear, ego, it becomes a net trapping you in endless cycles of suffering. But when the same mind is trained, purified, and awakened, it becomes the doorway to the divine. This is the foundation of Vedic psychology. To know the mind, not to control others, but to master oneself. Not to escape the world, but to see it clearly. And that's where the science of Manovigyan begins. Vedic psychology, the mind's structure. If you want to understand the mind, you must understand its structure. Vedic psychology doesn't see the mind as a single organ or function. It sees the mind as a complex system, a team of inner instruments working together. This system is called the Antahkaran Chatushte, the fourfold internal faculty. Let's break it down. Manha, this is the receiving and processing station. It collects information from your senses, sight, sound, taste, and presents it for judgment, but it is doubtful, always asking, should I or shouldn't I? It reacts, hesitates, calculates. Buddhi, this is your decision maker, the intellect. It uses discrimination, viveka, to decide what's right, what's wrong. It has the power to say yes or no. If trained well, Buddhi becomes your greatest strength. If neglected, it becomes clouded by desires. Ahamkāra, the ego, the sense of I am. Ahamkāra is not bad. It simply gives you a sense of self. But when it becomes inflated, it creates pride, comparison, fear of loss. The ego wants to control, to possess, to be praised. Chittam, Chitta. This is the subconscious storehouse. Every experience, every impression is recorded here. Chitta carries your memories, tendencies, and even your past life impressions, your samskāras and vasanas. It's deeper than memory. It's the field of karma. Together, these four inner tools form the mind. They influence how you perceive the world, how you react, how you grow, or stay stuck. This is not found in modern Western models. Freud divided the mind into id, ego, and superego. Useful but external, focused on survival, sex, and control. The Indian sages went deeper. They saw the mind as the bridge between the Atman, self, and the world. They understood, if manas is restless, you lose focus. If Buddhi is weak, you make wrong decisions. If Ahamkāra is bloated, you live in illusion. If Chitta is impure, your mind will never find peace. But if all four are purified and aligned, the result is inner mastery. Your mind becomes your ally, your sacred servant, not your enemy. And that is the aim of true Vedic psychology. Modern psychology comparison. Let's compare what modern psychology teaches versus what Vedic Manovigyan reveals. Modern psychology, especially post-19th century, is grounded in empirical science. It studies what can be seen, measured, and reproduced. Behavior, emotion, and cognition are central topics. It sees the mind through the lens of neurology, biology, and environmental influence. Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, proposed three parts of the psyche: the id, the instinctual part, driven by pleasure; the ego, the conscious self, balancing instincts and reality; the superego, the moral compass, shaped by society and upbringing. While Freud's model was revolutionary, it was still limited to personality. It never spoke of the soul. It never asked, "Who am I beyond my thoughts?" Even today, modern therapy mostly focuses on symptom management. You're anxious? Learn to cope. You're depressed? Rewire your thoughts. It does offer relief, but often only treats the surface. Now contrast this with Vedic psychology. It begins not with behavior, but with being. It doesn't ask, "What is wrong with you?" It asks, "Who are you?" In the Vedic system, Man handles sense data, Buddhi applies discernment, Ahamkāra gives the sense of identity, Chittam stores karmic impressions. These aren't mechanical reactions, they're layers of your subtle self. Where Freud said your mind is mostly unconscious desires, the rishis said your mind is a sacred mirror, fogged by illusion, but capable of reflecting pure consciousness. The West says, you are your mind. The East says, you are not your mind. You are the witness, the eternal self that uses the mind as a tool. This changes everything. If you believe you are your thoughts, you will always chase peace. But if you realize you are the one behind your thoughts, peace becomes your nature. And that's where Vedic psychology transcends modern psychology. It doesn't stop at balance. It points toward liberation, moksha. Because the mind, when understood and mastered, doesn't just make you well, it makes you free. Mental health and Vedic solutions. What do the Vedas say about mental illness? Did ancient Vedic texts talk about anxiety, depression, or psychological imbalances? The answer is yes. In fact, long before modern psychiatry, Ayurveda, the Vedas, and classical yoga texts had already discussed mental disorders and their cures, not just as health issues, but as spiritual blockages. They called psychological imbalance manovikar, disorders of the mind. Some examples include unmad, madness, or psychosis, chittodvig, agitation of the mind, what we'd now call anxiety, moha, delusion, confusion. shock, grief, or long-standing sadness. But rather than suppressing these with chemicals, the Vedic approach focuses on purifying the mind. It teaches that most mental suffering arises from disconnection from the self-over-identification with ego imbalance of the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. So what's the solution? The seers gave us a set of powerful practices, simple, natural, and deeply transformative. Dhyana, meditation. Silences the mind, helps you witness your thoughts without attachment. Pranayam, breath control, balances the flow of energy, calms the nervous system and lifts mental fog. Sattvagun vriddhi, cultivating sattva, live and eat in purity. A vegetarian, light diet, combined with clean thinking and good company, increases mental clarity. Mantra chikitsa, mantra therapy. Sacred sound vibrations like Om, Gayatri, and Mahamrityunjaya mantras can reshape the patterns in your subconscious mind. And all of this is summarized in one sutra by Maharishi Patanjali, Yog Chitta Vritti Nirodh. Yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. This one line is enough to heal the mind, if understood deeply, because mental health is not just about stopping sadness, it's about stilling the waves of thought, clearing the fog, and letting the sunlight of the self shine through. This is not therapy, this is transformation. Application today: Vedic psychology in the modern world. In today's world, we are surrounded by speed, fast food, fast media, fast opinions. But our minds, they're not built for speed, they're built for depth. That's why, even with all our progress, we face epidemics of anxiety, burnout, addiction, and depression. What's ironic is that the very tools that once were called spiritual, meditation, breathwork, mindfulness, are now being repackaged by modern psychology. Corporate offices now have meditation pods. Therapists use breath control to reduce anxiety. Clinics use sound therapy with mantras, minus the Sanskrit. But these aren't new trends, they are ancient truths. Vedic psychology gave us these gifts long ago, and today they are returning not just as cultural fads, but as essential medicine for a stressed-out world. Let's look at how these Vedic practices are saving lives today. Mindfulness and meditation. Major hospitals now use mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, rooted in Vedic dhyana, to treat chronic illness and mental suffering. Ayurveda and diet. People are turning to Ayurvedic nutrition to balance mental energy, eating according to one's constitution, avoiding tamasic food, and embracing sattvic lifestyles. Mantra. Healing. From classrooms to cancer wards, people are using chants like Om to calm the nervous system. Sound therapy is finally being validated by neuroscience. Yoga therapy. Beyond stretching, yoga is being used to treat trauma, PTSD, even ADHD, because it resets the mind-body system through breath and presence. So what's the message? Here, modern science is finally catching up to the rishis. The West is beginning to realize that healing is not external, it is internal. You don't have to reject modern medicine, but combine it with ancient wisdom, and you treat not just the symptoms, but the soul. Vedic psychology is not outdated, it's eternal, not alternative, but foundational. Conclusion: the promise of true Manovigyan. So where does all of this lead? Why study the mind at all? The world tells you to control it. Psychology tells you to fix it. Society tells you to numb it. But the Vedas tell you something else. Know the mind, purify the intellect, and you will transform your life. Because your mind is not your enemy. It's your most powerful ally. And that's the message of true Manovigyan. When you understand your mind's restlessness, you stop blaming the world. When you learn to observe your thoughts, you stop being enslaved by them. When you calm the ego, you find inner stillness. And when you dive deep into Chitta, you find not just memory, but the blueprint of your soul. This is not theory. This is not religion. This is direct realization. The rishis walked this path. They left the roadmap, and the first step is inward. So let us not chase temporary peace. Let us uncover the peace that was always within. As the rishis say, मन को जानिए, बुद्धि को प्रज्वलित कीजिए और जीवन को उन्नत कीजिए. Know your mind, enlighten your intellect, and uplift your life. This is the promise. This is the path. This is the power of Vedic psychology.